Hello and welcome to the Zelda Board podcast. I'm your host, spigelwii, and I'm back after a week of exile from the hosting duties. But with me, as usual, is HextupleyooDOT.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us also today, we have special guest Piddle, everybody. Piddle from the Zelda Board.
Hey, guys.
Also known as PDarkLink, but we're not going to call him that because that's really annoying and it's hard to say. And honestly,
it is a pretty awesome name.
It's pretty awesome, but we have a lot more important, awesome things to get to. So let's just kind of jump right in here. I was going to do some preamble, but we don't have time for that. We have a lot to cover. Today we had a Nintendo Direct, and it was very awesome. And I think everyone kind of universally liked it, mainly because of the way it started, and it just sort of dropped right into the reveal for Majora's Mask 3D, and it's coming out in spring of 2015. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it was definitely a surprise, but I mean, it's been a long time coming now for, I don't know how many events we've passed where we've expected this to happen, so...
I think I pretty much say like every single day that, oh, Nintendo's going to confirm Majora's Mask 3D today.
Exactly. So it seems like the tension is finally dropping. Finally, it's announced. We all saw it coming. Now we can just know that it's coming, and I don't really think there's a lot of fanfare going on about it. But it's nice to know, so that's cool.
As far as fanfare, I feel like Nintendo thought they'd get much more positive reaction for it, but it's just like a little bit too late. I feel like this was their big drop of this Nintendo Direct is Majora's Mask 3D, but we've all been expecting it for so long that it sort of lost a little bit of the punch they were hoping to have.
Do you think it had anything to do with the way they revealed it? It was the first thing in the Nintendo Direct. It kind of just faded in, like it wasn't a big epic thing. And I know people were saying earlier, like, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, Majora's Mask, kind of the dark horse of the franchise. But I just feel like they could have done a better job of like building up anticipation for that last big announcement at the end of the Nintendo Direct. But as soon as you start, it's like, there it is. And it's fine because it worked. It got me excited for the rest of the Direct. And I'm a huge Majora's Mask fan if you listen to last week's show. But I just feel like maybe it could have been handled a little bit differently. And maybe the reaction would have been a little bit more, excitable, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of de facto announced for so long that it's almost not even like an announcement. It's more just a confirmation that, oh, all the rumors are true at this point.
Yeah.
And the way they announced it was definitely strange. Like, they faded it in. They were kind of being a little bit coy about it at first. And then it's like, oh, look, that door. It looks like it's from the Stockpot Inn. Oh, look at that. It's Majora's Mask 3D. So, I don't know. I mean, it kind of, ever since the release of Ocarina of Time, or the reveal of Ocarina of Time 3D, it's kind of been an unstated fact that Majora's Mask 3D is going to happen just because it's the same engine and all that. So I don't know if Majora's Mask could have ever really been as surprising as the OOT remake was, you know?
I agree.
On the same
Go ahead.
On the same line, I was a little, personally, I was a little bit disappointed from a graphics perspective. I don't know why, because I mean, it looks a lot like Ocarina of Time, but at the same time, it's sort of it just didn't feel as impactful, just because it's like, oh well, yeah, it's sort of just more of the same now.
Right.
Yeah, I think like with the amount of hype that has kind of been behind the idea of Majora's Mask 3D, and the absolute lack of an increase of graphical fidelity from the OOT remake, it doesn't quite translate. You expect it, with that amount of hype, you want it to look better, but everybody knew all along that it wasn't going to be anything more than what the 3D Ocarina looked like.
I mean, I still think it looks good for a 3DS game, for sure. I mean, I think partly what some people wanted was Majora's Mask HD. I think a lot of people just wanted it on Wii U. I mean, we've all seen that fan trailer of like the HD one, and it just looks incredible.
Gross.
And then,
yeah, definitely.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I don't like the art style of it. I like the fact that it's like HD, yay, but I don't like the way they went about redesigning the characters a bit. But that's just me from an artist perspective.
Actually, Spiggle, you should pull up a picture of that moon, because that moon, it is pretty funky looking right now.
Oh, you mean the new one in the new game?
Yeah, the new one.
It's my profile picture on Facebook right now.
Yeah, they were saying that on one of the threads on the ZB, but I think it's really just the camera perspective. I mean, the moon is massive, so there's going to be some distortion when you try to fit that on the screen. I imagine if you were looking at the moon from far away, it would look just like what it looks like on the poster, but it's just unfortunate that it's so big and it has to be distorted to be able to be in frame.
Yeah.
I think the big thing about the announcement is just that it's nice to finally know it's coming.
And I think the big
soon.
Yeah, I think the big thing is spring 2015. I mean, who expected that, right? Like they've clearly had this game in development for a while. I mean, I was taking some notes. The cutscenes look like they're all done. It looks like it's running smoothly as Ocarina of Time did. So it looks to me like they're almost done with development on this game. So, I mean, we're talking maybe early spring 2015. Which means that they've probably been working on this since E3, since before E3, which actually kind of begs the question, why didn't they show it at E3?
What I'm sort of curious about is, I'm curious if they will finally go in the direction of adding some more content to the game. I know that people said it was a little short on dungeons. So is that a direction that they go in with Majora's Mask 3D? Do they add some DLC finally? Or is it going to stay the way it is and just stay true to its roots?
I don't see much more content happening personally. Like they didn't really do much with either Ocarina 3D or Wind Waker HD.
I think that's the key too.
Yeah. I had a thought and I lost it. Dang it.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's the key because with Wind Waker, like they clearly had an opportunity to add that lost dungeon that they didn't have in the original game because they didn't have time. And they're just like, no, we're just going to keep it true to the original game, which to me implies that they sort of are unwilling to touch the Zelda games as they were originally intended.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I'd rather they just focused their new ideas and any new ideas they may have just on the new game. Because I mean, remember, we got another Zelda game coming out next year. Supposedly next year, and I as much as I want Majora's Mask 3D, I also really want Zelda U. So
yeah, I was talking with a couple of guys on the board. I think one of them was Link. Is it Link 223,
yes,
and Yellow Paper Ninja, and we were having a discussion about whether or not it would have been nicer to have, like more of a reimagining of Majora's Mask with HD visuals on the Wii U and things like that. And I think Nintendo is really bent on keeping the experience essentially untouched without, with the exception of tweaks that alleviate some of the frustration, kind of like the Water Temple in Ocarina. But if they redo the engine and all that to make it more like a high fidelity experience, it's not exactly the same game anymore. So it's almost like a new game if you did that. So I think it makes sense what they're doing. I don't think they should make a Wii U version if it's going to play like an N64 game with better visuals. I think it's smart what they're doing. And I think if they waited any longer, it would be even worse. So
one thing they did mention is making it or keeping the difficulty, but keeping it accessible as well.
I know
when it first came out, there was a lot of discussion over the 3-day time system. A lot of people did not like how you had to reset it, how you lost all your items. So is there a chance that we see Nintendo go in the direction of letting beginners keep their items in their inventory even after they reset the clock?
Are you implying that there's going to be 2 difficulty levels?
I think it's possible, based on what Nintendo sort of
They did do hero mode in Wind Waker HD, which was a big step forward in my opinion. They included Master Quest on the Ocarina of Time 3D, so it's definitely not something that they haven't done in the past. And I think that's an interesting take on it. I hadn't really thought of it that way.
Hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get a Fierce Deity mask to use at any time we want.
Yeah, maybe that'd be nice.
On that note, isn't part of what the issue was with the saving system from the original is that there was some limitations from a hardware standpoint in terms of, not being able to save the same way you were able to in Ocarina at any point in time.
I'm pretty sure that's not true because I think Japan had a regular save system. The Japanese version. I think you could save at any time, and the owls were just transportation.
Yes, but also they had to sacrifice a slot. Wait. Wasn't one of the save slots sacrificed for the sake of the owl statues?
I think so.
They sacrificed a save slot, and for the owl statues, and there were no owl statues otherwise.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the Japanese version was harder than the American version.
Yeah, the Japanese version had no owl statues. You always had to restart.
Is that a fact?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Huh.
Comment if we're wrong.
Yeah, we should probably have done some fact checking on this, but let's unless anyone has any final thoughts on this, let's move along because we spent a lot of time on this, and
it's Majora's Mask.
Well, it is the Zelda board.
I know, and it is the biggest announcement of ever, but like, we should probably keep it moving because I don't know. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. So okay, onward. Next up, we went to Bill Trennan, and he had a little bit of information for us regarding some games that we already knew about. And we had first was Codename Steam, which we saw like our first real footage since E3, really. And what did you think of this game? Someone go ahead. I'll get my thoughts together, and then I'll say some stuff.
I think I don't remember what details were revealed at the E3 because I didn't really pay attention to this particular title. So I don't know if the aspect of all of these fictional and historical literary characters and whatnot, was that an element that they revealed before, or is it that new, like Tom Sawyer and Abe Lincoln and all that?
I'll be honest with you. This game was kind of revealed under Dark of Night, for lack of a better term, because like there was no fanfare surrounding it, and as such, like I didn't hear a whole lot about it. So I didn't really know much about it before what I saw today. So I'm not the best person to ask on that.
Yeah, me neither. I believe I remember hearing that it was gonna take place in sort of like a 1800s sort of setting. So the Abe Lincoln doesn't surprise me. Probably was mentioned before. For me, I'm more interested in the game now because of, it already sort of looks like a Valkyria Chronicles, which is sort of a cult classic on the PlayStation 3. But then they're adding some gameplay mechanics based on like the Steam and how it affects not just like your movement, but your attacks and everything else. That sort of.
Zyber mentioned in the Skype chat today that he said it looked like a little bit like Worms in the 3D iterations of that game, that franchise rather. And I agree. I think it's definitely got some like cool strategy elements to it. I never played the game that you mentioned, Piddle, but I have heard of it, and I don't know. I wasn't interested before, and now I'm like, well, that looks pretty cool. I could give that a shot for sure.
Yeah, I certainly don't think it's gonna sell like extremely well, like we come to expect other Nintendo titles to, but. It probably will become, if it's any good, it'll probably become a cult classic of sorts.
It'll become Pikmin. It'll become, Advance Wars,
right.
One of those types of titles.
And maybe if they wanted to expand on it, like they did with Pikmin and whatnot, then maybe it could become bigger, and then like the third iteration might be big. But for now, as a fresh IP that we don't really know if it's really worth buying, I don't imagine it's going to do super great. But
I'll definitely give it. I'll give it a shot if the reviews come in and they're any good. This is another spring 2015 game, so things are shaping up to be pretty good for the 3DS in early 2015, which we could not say for this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's looking like the 3DS is going to have a lot more to play next year so far.
And speaking of 3DS, next was Ultimate NES Remix, which is a retail game for 3DS, also in the eShop, coming out December 5th. Does anyone care about this?
Well, not particularly for me. It looks fun for people who like NES games, but I can't play old games like that because I'm not good at them.
Yeah, I suck at them.
They feel too old. Which probably ages me, I
guess that's where I fit in. I love classic games. I haven't not tried the NES Remix games yet. They do really interest me. I like the idea of the enhanced speed mode for the original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
That's going to cause people some fits because that's going to be tough.
I'm sure it will.
And for me, it's nice that it's finally hitting other platforms. And I think it'll be just something that fills out Nintendo's library a little bit more on the 3DS.
One of the things I will say for NES Remix, people who have talked to me know that I'm not the game's biggest fan just because I'm not good at those old games. But I really like the concept. I think it's a great idea. I think they're doing a lot to add to the experience for this 3DS version. And like I said, if I was a bigger fan of the series in general, I'd be willing to give it a shot because I love the idea. I'm just not good at old games. And after playing through the first one and like experiencing all the frustration, it's like more frustration is not something I need in my life right now. So I think I'm going to pass on Ultimate NES Remix. But that's me. So moving on, we had Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, also being released on December 5th, a Wii U game. Anyone have any thoughts on this one?
Do either of you know if it's full price or not?
That has not been talked about.
Actually, I think it's going to be like 40 or 50. I don't think it's going to be a full 60. I don't know why I have that thought in my brain. I think I've read it somewhere, but yeah, I think that's someone tell us because clearly you're the guys who are informing us and not the other way around. But I think it's interesting that they showed off like 70 different levels, like a hint at 70 different levels. And there's going to be a few more than that, I think, but yeah, it looks fun. I think I'm going to enjoy it.
I mean, 70 doesn't seem like a whole lot, does it? Not anymore. I mean, with the way that gaming is these days, where you have to have just more and more content in every game. I mean, 70 just, I know it's a high number, but it doesn't seem like that high of a number to pay for basically just a game where you're doing the same type of thing over and over again.
Well, I mean, if you think about how long it took to complete those levels in 3D World, I mean, it wasn't super short, so it's not like tiny little puzzles. And these particular iterations of the puzzles seem to be longer than what you would find in 3D World. So
right.
It seems like these levels will probably last as long as a typical 3D World level will. I think 70 isn't something to laugh at.
I think I'm just being a little cautious just because $60 like seems like a lot to shell out for 70 levels of, I mean,
I just checked and it's $40.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep,
well, that's
$40, so it is a budget title. And
that changes everything.
Yeah, considering what Super Mario 3D World and those games have 120 levels, and this is 70 levels, and I mean they might take about the same amount of time.
If I may, it's not even comparable.
Good stuff.
I think it'll be fair value.
Yeah, I think that's a good value. Obviously, the game takes a lot of inspiration from Super Mario 3D World, which actually kind of begs the question, will there be DLC for this game, like stages? Obviously, we have the Amiibo thing. There's going to be an Amiibo update. I don't know how they're going to use the Amiibo, but they will have the Amiibo. So, I mean, will there be a DLC package of some sort that gives you like 10 more stages or something to work with?
I think this really fits well as far as adding DLC. I mean, it's going to be pretty easy for Nintendo to put out more levels, keep it interesting, and just challenge players a little bit more. And that's probably what the DLC is going to be for, just challenging players a little bit more.
I mean, honestly, I was kind of under the impression when Super Mario 3D World first came out that I'm like, DLC for this game would be so easy. Just make more Captain Toad levels. And then they announced the full game. And I kind of think maybe that's the direction they were going. They were going to do DLC for this game, and it just ended up being Captain Toad because they had so much fun making those levels.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. That's the impression that I got anyway. So speaking of Amiibo, then we had a section on Amiibo. And dang it, I think I'm going to have to buy these things now, which they really did. They won me over. I didn't think that they would, but...
What kind of prices are they asking for these?
I think they're, what are they, $12.99 a piece?
Goodness.
They're that price range.
Yes, they're $12.99 each.
Oh, my wallet
mark out
hurts.
like a section of my budget for this.
Amiibo budget.
My biggest concern with the Amiibos right now is... the original press shots of the Amiibos made them look absolutely fantastic. Just great attention to detail and everything. And it turns out, like, obviously it hits mass production, it loses a little bit of the detail. And is that going to affect people's opinion of the Amiibos? Because originally everybody saw these Amiibos and they were like, wow, these look gorgeous. Like, this is something I want to have on display. And is it going to be something that people want to have on display if they look a little bit cheaper?
I never really got the impression that like people were crazy about having them anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I was never a person that looked at Amiibo and said like, oh, I got to have that, even like as cool as it looked. And I don't know. It doesn't affect my opinion of them.
Yeah, it seems to be that because they know kids are going to be buying these things and maybe playing with them, perhaps, it's not something that they, like some of these character models from Smash Brothers, they're barely touching the ground. Like Link's, he's kind of like floating in air. So when they have to attach that to the base, just the little dinky plastic pole wasn't going to cut it for kids who might be rough with them. So they had to add this giant, I don't know why they made it golden, but giant golden translucent column holding his leg up. And so they added these big, massive elephant feet for some of these characters that are translucent, and it'll help for like being able to handle rougher play, but it does kind of take away from the aesthetic appeal of them. But I think that's just more of a side effect of them using the Smash Brothers promo art as the basis for them, because if they make other characters more like what you'd find from just a generic Mario figure, he's going to be planted on the ground, you know? So I think going forward, when they make these amiibo designs, they're going to think about structural integrity more than they did with this one. I think they were just going for the, it's Smash, it's epic, and everyone's going to want to get one because it's the Smash art. So who knows? I think going forward, they'll be a bit smarter about it.
Just if anyone's curious out there, so far right now they're planning to use amiibos with Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 8, Captain Toad, Mario Party 10, and then Yoshi's Woolly World.
Also, did you mention Hyrule Warriors in that? Sorry, I was zoning out.
Does Hyrule Warriors have it?
Let's get into that a little bit. Actually, first they went to we'll go out of order here. Actually, they after some other stuff, they did mention the Hyrule Warriors amiibo Link. If you use the Link one, you will get the spinner item from Twilight Princess to be used in the game, which is awesome. And that's the main reason I'm buying it, just to get the stupid little spinner, which so I'm paying $13 for an
item in the game.
Spinner was the best. You don't know anything.
Hey, it was good for the dungeon it was in, all right?
Yeah, it's true. I'll give you that. But then outside of the dungeon, it's like, why?
Well, outside of the dungeon, I actually, first time I found a little rail on the wall, I was pretty excited, personally. But then after that, it's just like, oh, okay, spinner, obviously.
It helps you go faster for like a second, and then you start slowing down.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so then after the amiibo stuff, they talked about the Mario Kart 8 DLC, and they showed a little trailer. Mario Kart 8 DLC will be out on November 13th, by the way, which is something that excited all of us greatly because it gives us a week to play with it before Smash Brothers comes out. So, yeah. List of the stages that will be in the download. They revealed pretty much everything. They have eight downloadable stages. Yoshi Circuit from GameCube, Wario's Gold Mine from the Wii game, Rainbow Road from Super Nintendo, and they also showed off the Excite Bike Arena, Mute City, Hyrule Circuit, and 2 new stages, which are called Dragon Driftway and Ice Ice Outpost, which is like a really stupid name, by the way, but that's what they are.
I have to say, these tracks look gorgeous.
Yep.
I am impressed with the amount of content that Nintendo is offering with their DLC. I think it's, in a way, a lot more than the competition out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes it attractive. It's just such a great value. I mean, for me, a lot of times I look at extra map packs with other games, and I'm just like, okay, I'm paying like $10 for just a little bit extra content, and a lot of people might not even buy in. And this is like so much content that I feel people are going to be compelled to get it.
I don't feel like you have a choice to not buy this. Like they saw that they were coming out with it. And I'm like, new characters, I'm in. And then I'm like, what? 8 new tracks? And then if you get them together, you get 16 new tracks, and it's like $15. Like, how could you not get this?
I believe it was $8 for the first set, and then $8 for the second set, or you can get both for
like 13 or 14. Yes, that's ridiculous. That's like half the game.
Yeah, it's 150% at this point. The amount of content that the total amount of content. I mean, which is great.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me that Nintendo has like been so resistant to online for so long, and then they get into DLC and they just absolutely nail it. It's like, what the heck? Like, how did they figure this out?
I think it's just like a breath of fresh air in terms of, I mean, we talk about DLC and like some of the worst DLC. You have like horse armor in
the horse armor classic.
Yes, Oblivion. And then you get this, and it's just a lot of content for a fair price. And I mean, I gotta say, I'm impressed with Nintendo. They said that they were going to do DLC right, and so far it looks like they are.
And let's not forget, the Pikmin 3 DLC was nothing to sneeze at either. I thought it was really good. So
yeah, I think it's a reflection of like why they were holding off for so long, because they didn't want to just tack on tiny amounts of content and rob people of money for it, like the industry was kind of doing at the time. So I think I think they're doing it right because of that.
I think that's definitely
in spite
the
of
case.
that. Speaking of the amiibo, by the way, the amiibo feature for Mario Kart 8 is the costumes for Mii's, which is kind of neat. I think it's kind of clever that they're kind of retroactively using the amiibos for some of these games that are already released. It's not a huge deal. I mean, how many people race with Mii's? Maybe more than I think, but
more than you think for sure, actually.
But
especially kids, Trust me on that one. I once I babysat a kid once. I brought Mario Kart Wii over to his house. He had me make him a Mii just so he could play as himself in Mario Kart. So and if kids are the target audience for this amiibo thing, they're gonna love that. So obviously we're not the target market for something like that, but something that we are the target market for, especially you, Piddle, is the game Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which at first glance just kind of looks like a kiddie game, but there's some really interesting mechanics in this one. I know you're a big Kirby fan, right?
Oh yes,
and you're a big fan of Canvas Curse, right?
Canvas Curse is definitely in probably like my top 20 games of all time. It's a fantastic game. It's one of those games that, I mean, it's cute and cuddly on the exterior, but there's so much depth to it.
There's some angry eyes
on the cover art for the American version.
Well, apparently it sells better.
It does.
Yeah, I'm pumped up for a new Kirby, especially in the vein of Canvas Curse. I've been dying for a Canvas Curse sequel for like 10 years now.
And this is basically it. So
yep, exactly.
And even better news, this is going to be the first big Wii U game of 2015, assuming it doesn't get delayed. Aside from Mario Party 10, which they actually didn't show anything today, which surprised me. But aside from Mario Party 10, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, February 2015, they showed off multiplayer, which I thought was really cool. And one thing I thought was funny was like, you had to be, if you're Kirby, you have to have the gamepad so you can draw the little path and everyone else just gets to run around. And I started laughing thinking about like how in Nintendo Land, all your friends want to have the gamepad, but in this game, like you're not going to want to have the gamepad so you can just run around and do whatever you want. I thought that was funny. Like, no, I don't want to have the gamepad. Like I've had it all afternoon. You take the gamepad. Anyway, I thought it was funny. Oh, well. The joke didn't land here.
Well, I laughed at it too while we were in chat while we were watching it. Like the Waddle Dees can freely move around like any other platformer. So right. I never played Canvas Curse, so I don't know how satisfying the controls are for Ball Kirby or whatever he is. So I don't know. It
takes some getting used to.
Yeah,
you will not be very good at it at first, and that's sort of part of the appeal. Is it's one of those games that you feel some sense of accomplishment as you start to master the controls, even though they're really simple.
That sounds awesome. All right, moving on. Oh, you want to say something else?
Oh, yeah. And as far as the multiplayer, I mean, we're not really the target audience, but it is Kirby as multiplayer for kids is a great thing because it's pretty easy and it's fun.
And I have a feeling like parents are going to have a fun time with this game because if the Kirby gameplay is a bit more nuanced, then if they have kids, they can be Waddle Dee and kind of do what they're used to in a typical platformer. I think that's a good dynamic to have.
Yeah, it's a good thought. I didn't think about that.
Oh, that's a great point. This is probably one of the best family oriented games Nintendo is going to have. And yet
fairly hardcore at the same time because, like you said, if the controls take some getting used to, it's like it's not going to want to. Kids aren't going to like want to start playing this immediately and just stick with it if they get frustrated, because that's not how kids are these days. So, but for us, difficult games, we'll take it any way we can get it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. You knew we weren't going to get through this without me to smash anything. So obviously they talked about the amiibo stuff earlier, but then they showed a revealed trailer for Duck Hunt, which still the name bothers me, but whatever. And we already knew he was in the game. We have the 3DS version, but it was still a cool little trailer.
Yeah, I don't have really much to say anything about it.
Yeah,
we saw it coming. They hinted at it. So
and then
I think it was just nice that they're sort of giving each character their trailer as they.
Yeah. Oh, we're losing you a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but no one was saying anything important. It was just Duck Hunt, so we're just gonna move on. There's not much to say. So actually, speaking of stuff we don't have much to say about, after this, we had a segment about NINDY, which is a word I'm never going to use again. And
independent developers.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about it. I mean, I feel bad because Hex is an independent developer, but he doesn't have anything on Nintendo products yet. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, some of these titles look interesting, and I might try them out, but I can't remember off the top of my head what they were. So, I mean, I don't think anything was exclusive to this particular event. I think we knew about a lot of these already. So,
I mean, at this point, this is in terms of third party, like pretty much all Nintendo has going for them. So I think they felt like obligated to include it. They don't want to lose the indies because that's bad.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they probably learned a lot with the Wii.
Actually, third party, speaking of which, next there was like this ridiculous Monster Hunter 4 trailer, which is a Capcom game featuring Mario and Luigi cat things.
Felines for Monster Hunter 4.
Yes. I don't know I don't know anything about the Monster Hunter games, even though I have one. I just haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Monster Hunter games either. I was just a little bit disturbed by that section.
Oh, it was disturbing.
Yeah, what they do with the feline costumes is always a little bit off-putting to me. Like the Sonic one looked a little weird. I think there was a Mega Man one, also feline.
Yeah, those are just...
They randomly stuck Isabelle, like straight up Isabelle from Animal Crossing in the game as well. So
yeah,
it seems to be a strange game, but I mean, if it's enjoyable, more power to the players. Seems like it'd be fun to have all of these characters from Nintendo properties and whatnot. So I mean, happy for you guys if you play Monster Hunter. I can't relate.
One thing I've always liked about Nintendo is especially recently, is that they've sort of been willing to put their characters into just like random third-party games. Like, I don't know if you saw, but Link and Zelda costumes from Hyrule Warriors are going to be in the new Dynasty Warriors game on 3DS. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, and they're just kind of, they've always popped up. Like, you had Mario and Luigi in NBA Street on GameCube, and what else was there? I don't know.
Mario Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah. And
there's Link and Soul Calibur too.
Yeah, and you'll occasionally just get like random little things like that, and I think that's cool. Just like a little bonus, like, hey, you want to play a third-party game on Nintendo? Well, you get this.
Yeah, it seems to be their way of, the few third parties that are willing to work with us, we're gonna make it worth their while and include.
Oh, and of course the Bayonetta 2 costumes, or the Bayonetta costumes, which I didn't even think about. Man, I can't wait to play that game. I'm too busy. I got it a week ago, but I just can't play it. Okay.
Yeah, yet another reason for me to fix my Wii U.
Yeah, definitely get your gamepad fixed. You've got a lot of games coming up that you want to...
I have catching up to do. I haven't even touched Mario Kart 8 yet.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're in for a treat. That's the game of the year at this point, in my opinion. But we'll get to that at a later date. Teaser. Next, we had Pikmin movies, which is ridiculous, but I wrote on my notes, I'll buy them anyway, and I'm actually downloading them like as we do this. So,
I
it's
already bought
$5,
them, and I already watched them.
How are they?
They were pretty fun. I enjoyed them. I wanted to talk about this. There's this one part in the video, I think the third movie, where part of a scene, it's one of their gags, I think, but I can't really tell because part of the scene is censored. It's like pixelated. I don't know why. I'm wondering if it's something that is culturally acceptable in Japan but not in America, so they censored it for the North America version. So I'm wondering what it is, and I haven't been able to find any articles about it. So I'm waiting for some shed light on that. But
that's because nobody spent their money on this stupid crap.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, I don't think it's worth as much money as they're charging, given how much content there is. There's 3 movies, and they're not that long. One of them is like 5 minutes, and then the longest one is only 12 minutes.
And here we are praising Nintendo for all this like great DLC stuff, and then they go and charge $5 for like 3 random movies.
Right. But I mean, they're fun. I don't know if you really like Pikmin. Then maybe it's worth the money, but
I do really like Pikmin, and I'm really looking forward to watching them because QJ is a big Pikmin fan, so she doesn't even know about them, so I'll have them queued up when she gets home, and it's going to be awesome.
Oh, she will enjoy that.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you a good husband?
next we had our last two big things of the day. Was Xenoblade Chronicles X, and this is big because it's. I thought at E3,
to me, it was the high point of the entire Nintendo Direct.
I totally agree with you, with the exception of the Majora's Mask thing, just because I'm such a huge fan and I've been calling for it for such a long time. But apart from that, I just thought, wow, this game looks massive. Like, it looks huge. Like, it's kind of like, I don't really want to make this comparison because it's probably totally inaccurate, but it's almost like Nintendo's answer to No Man's Sky. And it looks like there's just a ton of places to go and things to do and things to see.
To me, it's a big game because it's an RPG. It looks gorgeous.
And which was a concern at E3, by the way. People were saying it didn't look that great.
Yeah, it didn't. They have definitely improved. And then it just looks massive. And I think in today's environment, there is a demand for more JRPGs, and people have been looking for Final Fantasy to fill that void, and it hasn't. Final Fantasy hasn't done very well, and that's sort of Final Fantasy is sort of the leader. Like, if it does well, other people get into the business, and they like put more money behind JRPGs.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that this game will fill that void. And I think it might even be a system seller. Who knows?
The Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii was incredibly well received, and I don't see any reason why this game would not be, if it's in the same mold as that game. And if that is indeed the case, it could be a system seller. It could be Nintendo's own Final Fantasy. And if what you say is true, then Nintendo could very well have their own. Like, you know how Nintendo has like their own version of everything, like Splatoon is their Call of Duty. Well, this is their Final Fantasy. Since Final Fantasy hasn't been on a Nintendo platform since, a real Final Fantasy like main series game hasn't been on Nintendo since Super NES, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I never played Xenoblade Chronicles, so I can't really speak on the quality of that game, but it looks gorgeous, and I might get this one, and I might also get the one for the Wii if it's great. So.
Well, hold your breath on hold it on the Wii one because they're putting it on new 3DS. So, I'm gonna wait to get Xenoblade Chronicles until it comes out on new 3DS.
Yeah, again, I'm pumped for this. It's a nice surprise for me. I wasn't expecting the game to look this good.
One last thing, and this was a minor thing, but I noticed that Iwata specifically said the word targeting when talking about the 2015 release. He said we're targeting a 2015 release, which to me implies that this is a game that is probably going to get delayed. And I mean, that's obviously pessimistic, but it just seems such a vague statement. And to use such a specific word in such a vague statement is like, well, they're not confident this is going to be out in 2015, which is sad because I want it now. But it's like Zelda U, right? We haven't heard anything about it since E3, and they're targeting a 2015 release for that. So the more news we get, I guess, is the better.
I think in terms of how Nintendo's doing financially, they might have a little bit more incentive to get it out sooner than later, especially if they can get it out in time for the holiday season. But we know that they really want high quality as well. So there is a good chance that it'll get delayed.
One more thing, and this was something that I think most people expected. I expected some Star Fox today, but we did not get Star Fox.
I told you it was not going to happen.
And also we did not get Zelda, which so my bet with Hex still remains. It remains alive, and we're still keeping an eye on that. We're gonna get Zelda news before E3. Hex, you watch. I'm gonna win those internets.
No.
But so the last thing was Splatoon, and second quarter 2015 release, which I believe is April to June. Is that correct?
Something like that.
So yeah. It's summer game, which is totally appropriate in my opinion. I'm just gonna stay inside my house all next summer, just play Splatoon constantly because it's online 4-on-4. I can't wait to play this game with you guys. It looks like it's gonna be so much fun.
Splatoon looks like the type of game that you look forward to getting your summer off of school so that you can just spend all summer inside, not enjoying the outdoors, playing that game.
It's like Mario. It's like Mario Kart was this year, kind of.
yeah, it makes me a little bit sad that I am not a child anymore.
And I think it's nice that they finally showed us a single player mode, which is something that was not present at all at E3. So I think some people might have been wondering, is this going to be just a multiplayer game? And
do you think people were really worried about that? Like, do you think they thought this was going to be just a budget multiplayer title?
I don't know. I mean, I did speak with a few people who were under the impression that it might be. So,
yeah, I think originally I got the impression that it was just going to be sort of a budget multiplayer title, and I wouldn't be surprised if after the reaction at E3, they went back and sort of looked at some of their concepts for single player and decided, you know what, we need to flesh this out and see if we can't get it out as a full retail price game.
If that's the case, though, then I'm curious as to why they didn't announce at E3 that this game is going to be out by the end of this year. That is 2014. Because if it was just going to be a multiplayer game, like you were saying, then clearly that part of the game was pretty much ready, and they could have very well shipped it this year, potentially. So I think they were still planning on doing the single player mode. I just think it wasn't ready to be shown yet.
Yeah, that's kind of my hunch as well. But I mean, it looks really interesting. I think there's a lot of interesting gameplay mechanics that they showed off. I kept rewatching it because the music in it is just great.
The music is fantastic, isn't it?
And there's interesting game mechanics like there's sponges that you can kind of fill with your goop or whatever, and they'll expand and create platforms. Yeah, ink. And,
it's called ink.
Thank you very much.
Squids produce ink, Hex.
And the antagonist seems to be a group, like a faction of octopi. So it's Squid versus Octopi, Battle of the Ages. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the single player mode as well. There seems to be some platforming elements and some clever use of the swimming up walls and things like that. I think it's going to be sort of puzzling, sort of like Portal in a sense. Maybe not to the degree that Portal pushed the puzzle aspect, but
that is quite a comparison.
Yeah. I'll probably eat my hat about that, but
it sort of gave me that vibe too.
Yeah. One thing about Splatoon is oh shoot, I had a thought and it went away, just like Hex did earlier. No, it's gone. I don't know.
Well, I will just comment on how utterly gorgeous the game continues to look. It is. Yeah, it is colorful. I love the art design of all the, what are they called? Like the Inklings or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
And
I have an inkling you're right.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I can't wait to get more of it.
I think it's interesting that whenever I see content for this game, it doesn't instantly feel like your typical Nintendo game, which I think is nice and refreshing because it's a younger set of developers. It doesn't seem like Miyamoto or some of the old guard are really as involved in it. So I feel like it feels a little bit more modern in some regard. I don't know. It's kind of an intangible feeling. Like, I can't really describe it.
I got the same sense from Codename Steam, actually. Just kind of like, yeah, it's Nintendo, because you can see the charm there, but it's different. Like, it's not just your regular, Mario platformer. It's got some new elements in it that they've never really tried before. This big online multiplayer thing really sticks out to me. Has Nintendo ever done, like, aside from Mario Kart, just a huge online multiplayer as being the draw for buying a game? Because that's basically what this game is.
I feel like the last time was online? Never.
Yeah, online. Yeah. So that's interesting.
It's for me, it's like Nintendo's finally going to have a shooter since, well, when? GoldenEye?
Well, they had Call of Duty on... Oh, you mean an exclusive? Because they had Call of Duty Ghosts on Wii U, I think.
Yeah, but this is their most, I don't know, their platform-specific big draw.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time.
And it's I think it's going to go over well. I think every time I see this game, and it seems like every time most people see this game, they just we and they just go away more impressed than the last time we saw it, and that's exactly what happened again today. Like at the E3 reveal, when they showed it, I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then like they showed the treehouse footage and they were actually playing the game. Like, this is awesome. I want to play this. And now there's a single player mode and it's just like icing on the cake, right? Like I want this game now. And I feel that way about so many of the games they showed today. And it's like, that's actually a good lead into, I just have a few discussion questions here at the end. My question was going to be, did today's Nintendo Direct do anything to change your opinion of the games that they showed today in the long run? Because a lot of them we already knew about. Like, what games are you going to get now that you probably weren't going to get before? Because I know that's probably the case for most of these, or some of these.
For me, I think it solidified Splatoon in my mind. It's definitely going to be something I'm going to get, and I think we're going to play a lot of it when it comes time to buy it, and we'll play online a lot in the ZB gang. And I definitely think I have my eye more on Codename Steam now. I wasn't even thinking about buying it when they showed it at E3, so I'm considering it now, and I hope as they release more content and more information about that, I think maybe it'll be something that I'll invest in.
For me, it's their Wii U content just looks fantastic. Splatoon, I mean, it was already pretty solid before. Now that it's going to have a sort of that platforming shooter type single player, that it makes me want it just that little bit more. And then the big thing is, Xenoblade just looks fantastic. And before, it looked a little rough, and I wasn't that interested, but now I am very, very interested in that game. On the 3DS front, for me, the only thing I'm really sold on still is Majora's Mask. And I'm not quite sold on Steam yet. I still want to see a little bit more gameplay from that first.
I think there's going to be plenty to show. I think I'm assuming they're going to do another Nintendo Direct at some point. Maybe not necessarily this year, but if they do one in early 2014, they've clearly got plenty of games to still show off. So I think Codename Steam may even be the type of game that gets its own Nintendo Direct, just because I feel like there's so much more we have to learn about it. Yeah,
I have a feeling they're going to start off next year with a Direct as well. Like after the holiday season is over, I think they're going to.
I think they're going to talk about the new 3DS when it's going to be here. I mean, we can get a whole nother discussion about this, but I want to sort of wrap this up because we are going very long, much longer than I thought we would, as usual. So, but my games that I was going to go over was obviously Codename Steam. I just talked about. I didn't know anything about it. Now I'm interested in it, so it did its job there. Splatoon, like I said, I came away even more impressed. And the other thing, apart from the amiibo, which I've been convinced to buy now, was I've not been a big Kirby fan my entire life, and looking at Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, and the fact that I've just recently played and beaten Kirby Dream Land 1 and 2, and having really enjoyed them, even though they're like bare bones, like simple what Kirby is, I'm sold. I'm getting Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, and I wasn't sure if I would. But the game looks awesome. The fact that it has multiplayer, the fact that it's a sequel to one of Piddle's favorite games, I think that's a high praise, I guess.
You will appreciate it. If it's anything like Hammer's Curse, it's going to be quite a treat.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, haven't really experienced the Kirby franchise to the extent that I would like. So I don't know. I just thought very, very solid Nintendo Direct. Pretty much met my expectations. I'm not going to say it was, the most amazing thing ever, but I thought it was awesome. And I don't know. I like seeing new footage of games that Nintendo is making because they're my favorite company. And I think it's great to have that stuff every once in a while.
Yep, definitely agree.
So go ahead, rate the Nintendo Direct out of 10, just for everyone.
I'm going to give it what I said in chat. I'm going to give it a 7.9. I said 8. I'm going to give it a 7.9.
7.9?
You're going to Matt Casamassina this?
There's exactly. A reference. Hey, IGN people, if you're listening.
Actually, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to be graceful. I'm going to give him 8.
Okay.
For me, it would be an 8 as well. I still feel like Nintendo is just a little bit light on content. I think they really need to work a little bit harder on getting some third parties to come back on board.
We do have Watch Dogs coming out in 2 weeks, by the way. Watch Dogs, everybody.
Chuckle.
Yeah, just so little, so late. Whether it's funding, I think that's really the route that they have to go. They have to just shell out some money and say, hey, you know what, we'll fund this. Just bring us something.
Right.
Just because they don't have enough. They don't have enough of a development teams to fill out their platforms with titles.
Although I will say Nintendo actually is developing at a quicker and faster rate than they probably ever have in the past, just because they have they showed what 8-9 titles today. They're all coming out very soon. I mean, there's a
definite sense of urgency. It's definitely a far cry from the days of the Nintendo 64, where we'd be waiting 9 months for just one new game.
Right. Okay, and my score, I'll go with an 8 too. I think I probably sounded originally like I enjoyed this a lot more than just an 8. But I think about all the stuff they could have shown. Like they could have shown, Mario Party 10, which is coming out, and it potentially could be the best Mario Party in a while, just because the potential for the gamepad. And they could have showed Yoshi. What else could they have shown that they didn't really show today? Mario Maker, we didn't hear a peep from, which I thought was interesting. Especially because I felt like we definitely get Mario Maker.
Yeah, again, we did not see. I just had a moment that you guys just had.
Okay, well we're 3 for 3 then, so that's good. So before that we have any more moments like that, does anyone have any final thoughts on today that you want to talk about before we cut this short here?
No, Splatoon looks great. I'm happy about Splatoon. I keep watching the trailer, and that music is catchy. That's all I've got to say.
And for me, it's all about Xenoblade again. I can't wait for that game. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've been excited for JRPG. The last time was Final Fantasy 13, and that was just a colossal letdown. So
yeah,
hopefully, Nintendo makes me happy with this one.
And of course, you guys know that I'm a huge Majora's Mask fan, and because we spent 45 minutes talking about it on last week's show, so I was definitely excited to get that. And that's the big takeaway, is that it's exciting right now it's an exciting time to be a Nintendo fan. It's something about Nintendo when no one's buying their stuff that they just make a lot of really good stuff. Doesn't it seem like it's always true?
Yeah, it's a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one that I'm willing to deal with, because Nintendo sales don't affect my life.
It's better than the alternative, right? It's better than when they don't do well, they don't put out good games, then they just die and sink to the ground, like Sega, So they have like this unstated life raft of great content when their consoles are suffering.
Maybe they just like have a database, not a database, but they have like a vault where they have they keep all the great ideas. They they just keep them there until they really need them. It's like, hey,
that's what Miyamoto's for. They just let him out of his cave every once in a while.
They open up the vault and they're like, what if we made another Smash Brothers? And everyone's like, oh, that's such a great idea. Anyway, okay, that's enough. That's enough of us. We've gone way too long, but that's okay, because I think it was an enjoyable episode. Hopefully you guys liked it. And if you did like our episode and you've liked the content that we've been giving you for several weeks in a row now, go ahead and like our video and go ahead and subscribe, leave comments. Make sure if you liked it to share us with your friends, because we'd love to see our fan base grow. And of course, I just want to thank the guys for sticking with me for so long, for Hex and Piddle. Piddle, we really liked having you on the show as the guest. We got to get you back. We got to do a backlog episode where we talk about all the games we have to play.
The nebulous backlog episode.
Yeah, except
it's going to happen.
It's going to be multiple parts, you realize.
Yeah, it's going to be a 10-part episode. Part 1, we have Atari games. And then part 2, we're going to go... Okay. But seriously, we did like having you on the show. And if you like the show, like, comment, subscribe, share, everything, all that. We do have a pretty big piece of news that we want to talk about. But I think we're going to save it for next time. So it gives you an excuse to tune in again. And... until next time, for Hex and Piddle, this is spigelwii, your host. Thanks for listening to the Zelda Board Podcast. We will see you next week. Bye.